Look at all these sigils. Each one represents a powerful family in the story. I consider these houses above your average lord. I put them under the category of great houses, prominent enough to sway a full-blown war. And that's where Westeros is heading in the second season of House of the Dragon. All the setting up is done, the real conflict is here. And both Rhaenyra's blacks and Aegon II's greens gotta pick out their weapons, like a pick-up basketball game, but instead of ballers, we have houses to choose from. The first big upset in negotiating terms went down in the first season's finale. House Baratheon, despite being more closely blood-related to the blacks, thanks to Rhaenys being half Baratheon, joined the greens. House Baratheon's new lord, Boros, has all the family's infamous traits, unpredictable and rash. Aegon's messenger boy, Aemond, came with offers of marriage for help in the war. Lucerys only came with a reminder that they're family. That's an insult in Boros' eyes. So the blacks are already down a dragon rider and a vital House Baratheon piece on the Game of Thrones board. House Baratheon does have some heavy players under them. The Stormlands are known for two things: all that rain and their military culture. It's not a coincidence that characters like Criston Cole, Barristan Selmy, and Beric Dondarrion hail from here. The blacks have more dragons for now, but being in court, building relationships gave the greens the advantage in networking. Obviously the Hightowers are behind them, since they're the masterminds behind usurping the throne away from Rhaenyra. But the Lannisters are just as committed to the Greens' cause. Tywin Lannister has been on the Small Council for over a decade, serving as King Viserys' master of ships. A lot of nobles would much rather see a male on the Iron Throne than bend the knee to a queen, but the Lannisters' reasoning is very different. Lord Jason Lannister and his twin brother Tywin were promptly turned down when making offers to marry Rhaenyra when she was unwed. Before the big time jump, the Westerlands, the kingdom belonging to the Lannisters, is very united during this era, so you could expect every family here, including their historic rivals House Rhaen, joining Aegon's cause. The Greens' last major supporter is House Strong. Lord Larys' motivations were always a mystery in the books. The show, giving us actual character perspectives of the story, paint a clear picture. House Strong isn't as powerful or established as the Hightowers or Lannisters. The Strongs don't rule over their kingdom or anything, but their seat in the Riverlands, Harrenhal, is not only the largest castle on the continent, it's in a very strategic location, dead center of all the action. Larys, being the master of whispers on the Small Council for a while, is more than just a perverted creep. He's very competent and someone you want on your war council. The situation with the Tyrells is a bit more complicated. You would think because of their close ties with their underlings, the Hightowers, they would be on the same team. But Lord Lionel is in no position to take sides in a civil war that will forever shape the Seven Kingdoms. The Lord Tyrell of this era is described as an infant in the lore books. This makes the choice for all the major houses in the Reach that more difficult. They don't have a strong leader telling them what to do. The Targaryens were the ones that recently named the Tyrells as rulers of the Reach. Long before them, the Hightowers built the first city in Westeros called Old Town, and have been rolling in gold ever since. All that ancient history is what gives Otto that smug look. The Greens will have to negotiate with Tyrells, like they successfully did with the Baratheons. They should be their priority in the Reach, which you can't forget House Tarly. In all the Field of Flowers of this kingdom, this family is the toughest, with their own Valyrian steel sword and everything. House Redwine has a fleet and a decent location on the map, that island in the bottom left corner called the Arbor. I would even throw in House Florent among my list of great houses. But yeah, the Tyrells and the Tullys are the big fish Rhaenyra and Aegon willing to fight over. Rhaenyra and the Blacks have prioritized the Riverlands over every other kingdom, for the same reason why Harrenhal is so vital. Location. While Rhaenyra sent her eldest brat Jacaerys to talk business with House Arryn and the Starks, Damon himself is personally going to meet with Lord Tully. With the Strongs on the green side, this kingdom will never be united under one side of the Civil War. Bad news for the common folk. This means a lot of graves are going to have to be dug. 3 other houses in the Riverlands to factor in: House Frey and these 2 rivals that quickly became fan favorites, House Bracken and Blackwood. The Blackwoods still have that northern honor in their veins since that's where they originally migrated from, so expect them to follow Lord Tully's lead. However, the Freys and Brackens are wildcards. During Robert's Rebellion, where the Riverlands had the spotlight, what did Walder Frey and his family do? Arrive when all the fighting was done. They've always kind of been hated because they're considered upstarts, making their crazy amount of gold from charging to use their bridge. The bridge that connects the north to the Riverlands. The north is a little far away to make a big impact in the war. The population's pretty low, plus the kingdom is so expansive, organizing a proper army in time is going to be difficult. But this is one of the 7 kingdoms, so you still gotta fight for their support. Aside from the Starks, prominent great houses include the Boltons and maybe even the Manderleys, because they do control the North's naval forests and ports. House Manderley looks over the only city in the north, White Harbor. They're deeply loyal to the Starks, unlike the Boltons, so they'll go wherever the ruler tells them. The Arryns in their kingdom, the Vale, are also kind of out of the way, but can produce a reliable army. Rhaenyra is half Arryn on her mother's side, even though she doesn't look like it. The Targaryen traits just completely took over both Aemma Arryn and Rhaenyra. The ruler of the Vale is Lady Jane Arryn, and she's not a regent or anything, she's a full-blown ruler of a kingdom, so she'll relate to her cousin Rhaenyra's situation. But Rhaenyra was confident about the Baratheons too. The one thing that can tear down this alliance is Damon, because of his history in the Vale. Lady Jane Arryn hates Damon for how he treated his first wife, Lady Rhea Royce. In the books, she tells him he is not welcome in the Vale after he comes for House Royce's seat after his wife's death. The Royces are another great house, the second most powerful family in the Vale, who ruled as the Bronn Kings long ago. They're very close to the Arryn, so there will be some tension because of Damon. Out of every house in the Seven Kingdoms, the Royces may be the most likely to refuse to participate at all. This is an option for everyone, but could mean the downfall of their land and holdings afterwards. The last two great houses still up for grabs going into Season 2 are the Outcasts. Dorne and the Iron Islands have a completely unique culture that separates them from the Seven Kingdoms. The Greyjoys, who rule over the Iron Islands, have been fairly docile since being conquered by the Targaryens, but things in Dorne are still rough. Many of the Westerosi despise the Dornish and are very racist towards them and the ruling Martells, while the Martells hate them back in turn for all the damage they did in the failed conquests, killing a bunch of people, destroying property and land. House Martell would like nothing more than to see the Blacks and Greens completely kill each other off. Approaching them is very sensitive territory. This leaves House Velaryon as the Blacks' one and only great support pillar, the Targaryens' historic closest ally. Some of the other minor nobles surrounding Dragonstone are sticking with Rhaenyra like House Celtigar. This guy in the season finale's Black Council is Lord Celtigar. This is the only other family besides the Targaryens and Velaryons that originate from Valyria. During Aegon's conquest, these guys teamed up against a whole continent and won. The Targaryens in the skies and the Velaryons on the waters. No one cares about the Celtigars. This time around it will be different. It won't be such an easy win. There are dragon riders on the other side as well, and one of them rides Vhagar, the largest and most experienced living dragon. Rhaenyra's Lord Commander of her Queensguard hails from House Darkland. This family from the Crownlands is known for supplying the most amount of Kingsguard members, and Queensguard in this case. House Darkland was very powerful in this region before the Targaryens, but have been dwindling since, but are still considered as a great house. It's very likely they'll follow Lord Commander Steffon Darkland into battle. Him sticking with the Blacks was a big win. Criston Cole's family will have zero impact on the Green side if they follow him into the war. The Darklands are a different story. When the Green Council decided to keep King Viserys' death a secret in order to swiftly crown Aegon II, a couple wild things went down within the panicked Red Keep. Lord Lyman Beesbury, the old master of coin, was murdered by Criston Cole during the council. You know House Beesbury, hailing from the Reach, won't be sticking with Aegon after that. You can't just go killing off the head of a family on a whim. It'll have consequences. House Caswell admittedly expressed their loyalty to Rhaenyra, honoring King Viserys' wishes. Having two mid-sized houses in the Reach is huge for the Blacks. This gives every other family's decision a little more difficult to make. The Blacks won't want the Reach united. The Beesburys and Caswells are out for green blood, and it gives the rest all around them another option. This makes 5 great houses in the Greens, and only 2 for the Blacks, with a handful of minor houses sprinkled in. So many are left up for grabs, the most important being the Tullys, Greyjoys, and Arryns, though the Vale is leaning Black for now. The Civil War has hilariously found its way to the fandom online. I feel like all the comments will only add to the green versus black fire, but anyone Team Green is wrong.